Welcome to the InObscuria podcast, a podcast where we exhume obscure rock and punk and metal in one of three categories: the lost, the forgotten, or the should-have-beens. I'm one of your hosts, Kevin Williams, and I'm joined by Mr. Robert Harrison. How you doing, man?
Doing great. Much better than I was last couple of times.
You sound so much better.
Less coffee and phlegmy. Is that a word, phlegmy?
Phlegmy, sure. Especially now. You're
no coronavirus free though, just so you can listen to this podcast without any worry. You will not catch anything from listening to us.
We are both wearing masks.
Yes.
So you won't get anything.
No, so it's going to sound like this for the next couple of minutes while we adjust our masks.
Very nice. And I notice your voice isn't quite as sexy as it was, but we'll go with it.
I missed that though. That's the only upside to having a cold is, God, I sound like Barry White.
The
that
Barry
was awesome.
White voice was nice.
Like closest I'll ever get to being a fraction as cool as he was.
I think our ratings were up just because of your
that
velvety voice.
All right, let me go make out with some people that are sick.
Shouldn't be too hard these days.
Not to just open the door.
Well, hey, before we get going, I want you guys to check out some of the podcasts that got us into doing this, like Metal Up Your Podcast, The Dummy Room, Pod of Thunder, and by the way, Pod of Thunder just did a two-parter with Mr. Chris Jericho, and it's hilarious. Go listen to it. Our friend Chris Jericho.
Yes.
Well, not really, but we did see him on the Kiss Cruise, and we saw him almost
making an ass of himself.
He was a little drunk when we saw him. He went in and basically took control of the bar at one point, and then he almost missed his flight and was running through the halls with his big suitcase.
He'd had about an hour and a half of sleep, it looked like. He was not doing well. He was not in a friendly, let me sign autographs mood.
So Pot of Thunder had him on, and it's their 11th one with him. I think 11 and 12 episodes that they've had with him over the course of the years. So go check them out. Those episodes, especially with Chris Jericho, are hilarious. Listen to The Decibel Geek. Listen to Podcast Rock City, which is an awesome Kiss podcast. Cobras and Fire, Growing Up Rock, The Lipstick Panel, Rock Strikes 10, History Science Theater, and the podcast. All right, so we're gonna move on from there, and I want you to go check us out on InObscuria.com. It's where all the cool kids are going these days. Also, like us, share us, recommend us, do all the stuff on the social. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So usually what I do is I do some sort of
seance.
We call it reaching out to the spirits. I don't want to occult names on it, but
sacrifice small animals.
Something like that. But I didn't have to do that today. And
did you run over a small animal?
No, I mean all you have to do is turn on your television or look at anything media, anything on social, and it's all about death these days, right? It's all about this
seems to be a popular
mass
topic.
Hysteria that is going on about everybody's going to catch the coronavirus and die. The entire planet is going under. This is like a zombie movie coming
This
real.
is real zombie stuff now.
So this is, I think this might be the end. So it got me thinking, Robert, what is our musical eulogy going to be? What is our legacy that we're going to leave as human beings on this planet when we're long gone? Robert, this is your life, or maybe this is your death. Surprised?
Yeah. I have not heard that in a long time.
Yeah, so I thought I'd just roll right into that. So what we're going to do today, this is an episode we're calling This Is Your Death. Skeletons from Our Closets.
Okay, good.
All right.
Equal time.
Well, maybe. So what I thought I'd do is sort of focus on all the music that we have this kind of twisted family tree. There are so many groups that I've been in that have interchangeable members that you and I have played in bands with. And so I'm going to just kind of go through some of our twisted musical tree, family tree, if you will. So
that was from...
So that was Big Jack Pneumatic. That was from 2003, and that's what I would consider the best incarnation of that band.
Absolutely.
We had two different versions of that band, and originally it was a trio, and Bill Sutherland, who was mainly the bass player, he and I would trade off between bass and drums, and we wore mechanics outfits, and
it was fun. I
was
like
fun.
changing up the players within the show. How many times do you see bands actually change musicians within the band?
Right. Yeah, you don't see that often. There's a band called Sloan that I like that does that quite a bit, but there aren't that many. And that went pretty well. And then we got a drummer whose name is Kent Aberle. Well, actually, I guess we got Brandon first.
We got Brandon,
the
then Kent.
keyboard player in what you just heard is Brandon Still, and he's in a band today called Blackberry Smoke. So he's the one of us that really went to the next level. And then the drummer, Kent Aberle, who's also played with a ton of people. He plays for Kristian Bush's band currently and lots of other bands. But we got those two guys, and they really elevated, I think, our musicality and what we were able to do.
It definitely clicked when they both came on board.
And they're just brilliant musicians. When that came out in 2003, we were a little ahead of the
indie rock thing.
Indie rock, emo, whatever category you want to put us in, but we were a little ahead of that curve. Everything around Atlanta at that time was all new metal still.
Rap metal, angry rap metal.
And we didn't fit in at all, but those are the bands we were being put with because that's what the clubs were hiring at that point in time. So we had a bit of a hard time, and unfortunately we didn't last long enough to kind of come to fruition to where those other bands kind of caught up with us.
Which that's the same story we've told about other bands how many times now?
This is true.
If they could have just stuck it out another year or two, they would have hit it big.
And this is why we are part of InObscuria.
Yes.
So anyway, I thought before we played our next song, I thought we'd kind of go through maybe a little bit of musical backgrounds for each of us. Because again, we don't know, with what's going on today, we could be gone tomorrow. So I want to lay down a little bit of our legacy here today.
Just get it out there. Get it on record.
Get it out there. So I've said it so many times, and people are probably tired of listening to it if they've listened to this show, but I began playing music around 86, 87 after I got into skate punk and thrash and mostly Kiss. Kiss is what really made me want to play music. But I used to draw pictures. I remember this as I was thinking back to when I started. I used to draw pictures of fake bands, and I would give them names, and because I was into Kiss, right? So I would design costumes for them and stage shows and all this stuff. And I used to be that kid, that was drawing fantasy stuff and was into Dungeons and Dragons. And, I was what's that show called? Stranger Things. I was the Stranger Things kid.
Yes.
But anyway,
were you the chunky one?
Which one?
You were the chunky one?
That was the one with no teeth.
Oh, the one.
That's the same one, I think.
You were the bald girl?
I was the bald girl. But anyway, I moved on from designing fake groups to actually using my little kitty drum kit that I got when I was probably 4 or 5 years old. That was a little Sears kit that was way too small for me at middle school age. When I started, I'd basically just turn the bass drum on its side, so it's basically like a floor tom, and I would hit that, and a friend of mine had a snare drum, and I borrowed it from him, so I would hit that fake toy kick drum as a floor tom, and I just had that and the snare drum, and I would start beating, and Brandon Still, who was in Blackberry Smoke, Blackberry Smoke fans would be like, what? But he used to play, he had a little crappy Fender Squire guitar, and we would play really bad versions of Black Sabbath songs and Misfits and Minor Threat and whatever punk songs we could rip off on, and we did that for a while, and finally another buddy of ours named Connor, he also got a crappy guitar. I think it was a Dean guitar. Do you remember Dean guitars?
Yeah, 80s.
Yeah. And I got Christmas of 87, I got a bass guitar. And the reason I got a bass guitar is because nobody else had one. And so I thought, well, I'll get a bass and we'll find somebody to play drums. And I wasn't a very good bass guitarist. And the brand of my bass was a Mako. And we all had black guitars. So that was our thing.
Oh, you're so goth.
We all had black guitars. And,
so goth.
And after a while, I was painfully aware in our little town that there was going to be nobody that we could find that played drums. Nobody had a kit. So I saved up my grass cutting money, and in the summer of '89, I got my drum kit, which I still have today. And so I just taught myself how to play guitar, bass, and drums because I thought that way at least I could be in something. And so our first group, where we didn't really have a drummer, our first group when it was just me on bass and 2 guitars with Brandon. And the reason I'm bringing up Brandon is because Brandon was eventually in our band. So here's one of those connections to our twisted musical family tree here. But our first band was called Thorax.
Nice. Yeah, that
was a good one. That's good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but
Dr. Seuss.
Yeah,
that's Lorax. Sorry.
No, that's a Lorax. Thorax is the chest.
Anatomical thing.
It's the chest. Yeah. So then I realized that there was a band at that time that was really big called Anthrax, and it sounded a little too similar. So we weren't Thorax for very long. Then once I got the drums, we became a real band. We had 4 members, and each of us played different instruments, and that band was called Frontman.
That I know. That's where the story picks up that I know about.
That's really where my story gets going. And at the same time, I was in a blues-based band with some other friends of ours called Gray Moments. I don't know if you ever heard that one.
I have not heard that one.
Yeah, we've got some beauty names here. I'm just going to run down some of the beauty names. And then when I went to college, so those bands lasted a little while. And then when I went to college, I couldn't take my drums with me. So I took my crappy bass guitar and I bought I think at that time I had a PV. It was like a Telecaster, but it was a PV. It was pink. It was a beaut.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so I put an ad in. I went to Clemson and I put an ad up. And how I found musicians, I don't know. My ad basically said, looking for members for my band, and I put King's X and Yes and Rush and like all these bands that were not cool at that time. This was 1991. So I put all these prog bands up, and I'm not even that good of a player, so we're not going to play prog music. That's just what I was into.
That's what you like.
That's what I liked. So, but in walks a guy my freshman year who plays bass. He's from Buffalo, New York, and his name is Paul Johnson.
Paul, I know Paul.
And so here's another one of those connections to Robert and I, music as well. So Paul and I were in a band called Minor Earth. And Minor Earth played, what did we call it? Like progressive, we called it progressive something, but we weren't very progressive. We were just a rock band. And anyway, after a few years, we got Brandon came to Clemson for, I think, a semester or 2. And so then Brandon joined Minor Earth. So both Paul and Brandon were in Minor Earth until basically Paul graduated, and then Minor Earth was a trio because Brandon left, Paul left, and so we became a trio, and that band became known as Confunky Fried. So then we were a full funk rock band. We had totally transitioned, and we became Confunky Fried, and that's when I moved to Atlanta.
That was 96?
That was 96.
96.
And the story there is we're a trio. We're a power trio, funk rock trio. Drummer moves to Atlanta. All right, man, I'm going to find a job, and I'm going to move. I'm going to move to Atlanta too. And I moved to Atlanta, and the bass player, where's the bass player? He never shows up. He moved to Chicago. So there goes Confunky Fried. So then I hook up with this guy named John Stringer. And I do not remember how I found John. I think maybe it was another one of those ads that I put up maybe in Guitar Center. It might be where I found him. And it was, do you want to play funk rock, funk soul rock? And
you have little pieces of paper at the bottom of your phone number and you tear off.
Yep.
See, people don't do that anymore.
Yep.
It's a lost art of writing ads.
There was really no social, obviously, at that time. I mean, we had the internet, but
we actually interacted with each other in person.
Well, unless you were on message boards, you weren't going to find anybody back then, and I wasn't on message boards. That wasn't my thing. But anyway, we formed a band called Sway, and we needed a bass player. So Paul Johnson had moved to Atlanta too, so I got Paul Johnson back.
He got there eventually. It took a little bit.
Yeah. So it's my second time in a band with Paul, and we're in this band called Sway, and then that runs its course. We do that for about a year or 2, and Paul decides to do something else because of their business or something like that. So second band, Paul's out of my second band with him. And so John and I forge on with 2 really good, a bass player and a drummer that were friends that were really, really good. and we formed a band called Soul Speak. And we played Soul Speak a couple of weeks ago on our funk rock episode. And Soul Speak was around until about the year 2000. But before that band stopped, you came into the picture.
We met at the mailbox.
At the mailbox. Robert and I lived, two doors
doors down from each other.
And Robert was playing acoustic guitar at that time. And he would play, where would you play? You'd play in
McDuff's Irish Pub.
Irish Pub. And
I had a regular gig
places,
there.
right?
Yeah, I don't remember the other places, but they're no longer here. They knocked down bars here so quick. But yeah, that was McDuff's Irish Pub on Wednesdays. Then I got promoted to Thursdays. Then the big promotion to Saturday night.
So I went to see Robert play, and I thought, man, I want to get in on this because I want to play some of these bars. I thought it'd be fun. So I get my drums back out, and I get Paul back. So here's Paul in a third band. So
he was always up for adventure. You have to admit that. You pretty much pick up the phone and call him. He's like, okay.
And so Paul's in a band with Robert and I, and the first name of the band is Mercy Beat.
And we got that from
The.
It
was, we were looking on the back of random CDs just to try to find a name, and that one kind of stuck out.
We were having a hell of a time. We looked at everything, thought of everything. I think we were going like the second or third week of trying to come up with a name. We were getting frustrated, and I think you picked that out, and I went, yeah, that sounds good, just because my brain was hurting from all the other names.
And in 1999, we went to there was a studio in a house. Do you remember where we went?
With Paul, we went, it was in Decatur, I think.
It was a house, but it was
a basement?
Like a basement studio.
I had pneumonia. I'm pretty sure I had pneumonia that weekend, and I was curled up in a ball, and you would come get me when it was time to do the vocals on that. So yeah, it was with not Dan Marshall, the guy before that.
It was Rusty Cobb.
Rusty Cobb, yeah.
It was Rusty Cobb, who's worked with Seven Dust and a bunch of other bands.
Before he was Rusty Cobb. He was just working with us.
Well, I think he was just making some extra scratch when he worked with us. But we just went in, I think, for a day or two.
2 days. It was a Saturday and Sunday.
And we put down a couple of tracks, and I just remember...
Acoustic pop.
It was like acoustic 90s music.
Light 90s music, yeah. It was pretty straightforward.
It was what we were playing in the bar, but what I remember is you were really wanting to make the transition to playing electric guitar.
I was tired of acoustic.
You just bought that big body Guild, I think it was.
Guild, yeah, big yellow Guild.
It was a big
hollow body FO.
Hollow body Guild, and that was your first, with me, that was the first time you were playing electric guitar, so we added some electric stuff on top of what you were doing in acoustic. And I think it turned out really well for where we were at the time, but it was Paul on bass, and myself on drums, and you on guitar.
I just started writing music, so that was kind of in the early days of me writing.
Yeah, and it sounded something like this.
Breaks free. It seems to follow me, but I'm the only one with eyes to bleed. And I've gone my own way, and I float beneath the waves where silence is nothing more than home to me. Should I stay, see tomorrow? What will I be? Will I find a way to tell myself it's alright? It's just another day. What was gonna be a normal life? But somewhere along the way I changed my Will I find a way to tell myself slowly, it's just another day. Well, it's gonna be a normal life. Somewhere along the way, I changed my mind. It's just another day. Well, it's gonna be a normal life. Somewhere along the way, I changed my mind. It's just another day, another day, another day.
I remember the vocal booth basically was the bathroom. And so the vocals for that whole CD were recorded in the bathroom. And so literally in between takes, I was sitting on the toilet because it was a very small bathroom, but it had really good acoustics in there. So I had a mic in there and we would record the vocals and then I'd sit down on the toilet. If that's not rock and roll, I don't know what else is. Come on. And earlier I said I had pneumonia. That's not true, but I probably had the flu or something. And when they were needing me, I literally was curled up in the corner, I think, just completely overdosed on Dayquil. So I'm amazed that my voice sounds anywhere like that because I felt like crap that whole weekend.
As far as song composition goes, I always like having a bass solo before the second verse.
Yeah, not even halfway through the song yet. How pretentious was that? No, bass solo right now. That's good.
Yeah. Hey, before we start the second verse, let's put a bass solo in there. That makes sense.
But the thing is, I was very unconstrained, or we were very unconstrained as songwriters go, because I didn't know any better. It was just like, yeah, let's do a bass solo there. That sounds great. And in a way, it's kind of an innocent thing where I wouldn't have done it 2 CDs later. I was like, no, you don't do a bass solo. That's not cool. But at the time, we're like, yeah, screw it. Let's do a bass solo.
Exactly. So that was Mercy Beat from 1999. The song was Another Day. I remember we were hurrying to get this put together because we were trying to put together this whole promo package that we could deliver to the Atlantis Music Festival.
Oh my God, I forgot
because
about that.
we were trying to get on this Atlantis Music Festival, which at that time was brand new. It was a music festival in Atlanta that was supposed to rival South by Southwest.
Yeah, there was showcases. There
was their
shows
plan.
everywhere around Atlanta.
It never quite caught on. It went on for a couple of years, but we put this amazing promo package together because I was working at a packaging plant at the time, and we designed this really cool vinyl wrapped promotional folder that held the CD and had all our information in it. And I was a graphic designer at the time, so it looked pretty nice.
For those of you that don't know, our album covers, our merch, everything always was amazing. Kevin's got some amazing talents in the graphic design department, so we always made more money off the merch than ticket sales.
Well, I don't know if we made more money, but it always looked pretty decent.
It looked really professional, and we still, to this day, we have better merch than anybody else.
But it didn't get us into the Atlantis
No, unfortunately.
Festival.
The Frisbees and everything.
Oh, well. But I remember rushing to do it, and you remember going to, what was his name? Griffin, who did the mastering?
Oh, God. Yeah, the
little guy.
Petite, he's a petite guy.
Yeah, it was like watching
he's a gnome. He's
a
kind of like a
dungeon
little
master
gnome.
at work.
He was amazing. He's like a wizard. He's more like a wizard.
He was a wizard, yeah.
He was a wizard because he really was amazing.
Long beard, and this guy took our stuff, and he was doing mastering the old way. And we were standing in the room. And for those of you who don't know what mastering is, basically when an album gets mixed, it's not done. So, the producer tells you what to keep and what to cut, and then your engineer does all of the levers and dials, right, to get all the and then they mix it to make sure that everything's audible.
So you can
and
hear the bass, you can hear the
well,
drums, you hear the vocals.
And then you take it to mastering, and what they do is they basically cut out certain frequencies and stack certain frequencies so that it really sounds big and crisp, and that your ears can hear something amazing. And this guy, the way they do it is, or at least back then, was, I don't even know, I can't remember exactly what he was doing, but he had all these machines set up and he was punching buttons as he was playing the music, and it was mastering the old way.
It was like he was playing this gigantic pipe organ. There's levers and dials.
It was literally like watching a wizard.
It was all analog. Everything he had was analog.
It was amazing. Chris Griffin, that was his name.
Chris, yes.
Chris Griffin. So I don't know if he's still around Atlanta, probably is, but he was really cool. So anyway, a couple years later, I think Mercy Beat, we recorded a couple songs, maybe 4 or 5 songs, primarily trying to get on the Atlantis Music Festival. I don't really remember selling these, do you?
No, these were all promos just given away.
And then we recorded again, and that's when we recorded with Dan Marshall, who we called Thunder Dan at the time.
And
we recorded, and it was still the trio.
Was it still Paul?
It was still Paul, but I think those recordings we never did anything with. I think by the time we finished the recordings, we had decided we were going to form another band called Big Jack Pneumatic.
We were already in transition at that point.
And we became basically a trio called Big Jack Pneumatic, and that was the band where Bill Sutherland, who was mainly the bass player, and I was mainly the drummer, but we would switch off between songs. But one of the things, I wanted to play some Big Jack Pneumatic from that era. And
all the
trio,
songs are 6 minutes long.
basically. But I want to play a certain song that actually survived 3 different bands that I was in. And this is a song that I wrote when I was in Confunky Fried, and it was one of the first songs where I could play and sing pretty well. And I played and sang it in Confunky Fried, and then when I was in Sway with John Stringer, this was the only song really that I sang leads on. But when we took it to Big Jack Pneumatic, Robert took it to a whole new level, and this is my favorite version of this song that I wrote. So this is called Dashboard Jesus.
forget everything that you know. When you hear me sing praises about myself, please follow. And when I tell you to jump, you go. Call my name all the time. You better scream my name all the time. You gotta call my name all the time. You better scream my name all the time. Lord, dance for Jesus, dance for Jesus, dance for Jesus, dance for Jesus.
My favorite things in that song is your vocal interlude, Pastor
The Reverend Eugene Williams.
Yes, I always love Reverend Eugene Williams, and then the Immaculate solo, which I'll refresh your memory. The second guitar solo in there, we had that song mostly worked out before we went in the studio, and all the other songs we had everything worked out because we were poor and we needed to just get in and get out because we were paying by the hour. But that one solo, I'd never figured out what to do with that solo, and I couldn't think of anything. We recorded the song, left the solo out, went on to other songs, came back. It was probably late in the afternoon on Sunday, and we were all exhausted, tired, irritable, cranky. And Thunder Dan Marshall goes, oh, yeah, we have to still do that solo. And I was dreading it. I'm not good at really improvising. I kind of like to practice things. And so he said, well, I'll tell you what, here, just grab the guitar, put the headphones on. I'm going to roll tape, and you just noodle through it a couple of times and see what you come up with. And the pressure was on. You guys were all standing either in the room or kind of
in the control room.
In the control room looking at me. And he played that thing, and that was nothing but angst, anxiety, and nervousness coming out in guitar form. And it was one take, and I remember Dan and everybody else looking at me like, oh, okay, done. And one take did that solo, and I actually had to go back and learn the solo from the recording because it was an out-of-body experience. I swear I was floating above the room, and that's my one moment of really being a musician, of letting everything just flow and not thinking about it, and then having to go back and figure out what the hell I played.
Those were always the best scenarios.
God,
That's
I
when
love
you
that
get the
moment.
best stuff.
I get chills just thinking about it.
That's my favorite lead that you have ever played on any recording that we've ever done, and you've played some amazing leads, but that one it just
came out of somewhere. I don't know where.
It has such an Alex Lifeson thing at the end, which I'm a huge Rush fan, so when I heard that whammy tremolo thing you're doing at the end, and the reason you even had that was because you didn't even have your guitar there.
No, I didn't have mine.
That was Dan's guitar, and you had never played a guitar with a whammy bar.
No, never had, and I still don't really play one to this day.
Yeah,
but it stuck into my hands. It's like, here, just use my guitar.
So you had that whammy bar, and Robert just throws it in at the end. The guy's never used a whammy bar before. He's like, oh my God, he sounds like Alex Lifeson.
Like I said, it was an out-of-body experience, and I couldn't have played it a second time, but thankfully it was recorded. And to this day, 20-something years later, I still get chills listening to that solo.
Yeah, that is without a doubt, that's my favorite song off that time of recording. That was 2001. Again, we were not aligned with what was going on in the music world as far as what was happening, and because the alternative thing had it had died away and gotten real poppy, or it had gotten poppy yet really heavy, and we weren't in any of that, and we weren't in metal. We weren't metal at all. Although that song's pretty heavy for us.
Heavy.
But the funny thing is, I wrote that song as an acoustic song, and I used to play it in Sway as an acoustic song, and I would sing it. And then when we tried it in Big Jack, I think we really put that together for the most part in the studio, as far as the way that the
sound of it.
Yeah, just the heaviness of it and what we were doing in the different parts. But
that was the time period of going from acoustic pop in '99 to I wanted heavier and heavier and louder and faster and more of everything. And you can see that progression.
That's 2 years later. And again, that was just a trio, and there's a big sound coming out of that trio. We've had some pretty awesome experiences with the trio. I talked a little bit about all the bands I was in. What was your experience prior to meeting me?
None.
Well, didn't you have a band in college, or am I wrong?
No, we played one party, and it was god awful. But I mean, we were fun. Don't get me wrong, but we did a cover of Iron Maiden Trooper that was probably the worst cover of that song ever. But we didn't care. We're in college. We're having a good time. It was just one night, one party. And I thought back then, okay, I've had the experience of being in a band. That's cool. I'll be satisfied just graduating and getting a job and being, a normal, corporate guy. And little did I know that, years later, I would actually be in a real band. That was not my dream at the time, to be in a band. I thought, this is just a one-time experience. That's cool. I'm glad I got this experience.
So when I met you, you were already doing the acoustic thing solo.
Singer-songwriter.
But you were playing like 90s hits.
Yeah.
Those kind of poppy alternative hits. And you were doing acoustic versions of them. When did you start doing that?
97.
And I met you in 98.
Yeah.
So you'd only been doing it.
No, I've only been doing it a year and a half maybe.
What made you do that? Was there a certain event that you
absolutely. I've been playing guitar in my own home by myself for years, just thinking, once again, I'm okay just being this guy that plays guitar at home just for fun. And at a party, I picked up the guitar, and so one of my friends goes, "Hey, that sounds good. You should go play at this bar. I know the owner. You should go audition." And I thought, well, no, I'm not that good, And he's like, no, seriously, you're good. You need to go audition. And I did. And he gave me the gig on like Thursday nights. And then he promoted me to Friday. And then he promoted me to Saturday and wanted me to do more sets. And
that
things
was
like
McDuff's?
That was McDuff's Irish Pub.
McDuff's, okay.
And so that was kind of like my weekly gig, was doing acoustic stuff. But I was so frustrated playing background music that it drove me nuts. Playing music and people weren't paying attention. They were having a good time, but I wasn't the center of attention.
Yeah, they were playing pool. They were throwing darts. They were watching rugby because that was a big.
Yeah, he hired me.
Hangout for Irish.
I played during
English.
the World Series. Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, go ahead and play. And everybody's watching the World Series, but he wanted me to play. But it drove me nuts. And that's when I met you. I realized, no, I want to be the center of attention. I want to be in a real band, and I want people to watch me, not the TV.
Right. And I remember we used to play McDuff's as a trio, and we would be on their little stage. It was really made for an acoustic performance.
It was probably 6 feet by 8 feet, maybe. That was the entire stage.
I would put my Pearl drum kit on that little stage, and you guys would stand around me, and we would have electric bass, acoustic guitar, through a PA, of course, and then I would play drums with those bamboo sticks, whatever they're called.
Quiet sticks.
That they were kind of quiet, but we were still rocking it out pretty much. But we were doing the covers thing, and we were starting to write originals, and that's how that eventually morphed into what you just heard, which got heavier and heavier. Now, when I was in college, I was in a band called Minor Earth, and I formed that band. That was kind of the first time that I really put something together, and it was my own. And I was, because I couldn't take my drums to college, I started writing songs. I had a guitar. And I started writing songs, and I realized that I really enjoyed writing songs, and I wrote lyrics and everything, and that was new for me and fresh for me freshman year. I'm 18 years old, 19 years old, and that band, Minor Earth, was around until about 95, so we had a good 4 years of doing that, and we would play regionally, and we went so far as we would play in different places. We went so far as, I think, D.C., or maybe we went even further than that. I can't remember, maybe New York. But I really thought at that time, this is the band that I'm going to be in, and this is going to be my life, and this is what I'm going to do. And when we got a new member, his name was Brandon Still. When Brandon came in as a keyboard player in 95, I believe. So it was right at the end of Minor Earth. But when he came in, it really kicked us up because we added all this texture, and our songs were weird because we thought we were a progressive soul funk. We were just like a mix of everything.
A little bit of the buffet band.
And some people liked it, and other people looked at us in clubs like, what are these guys doing? Because, again, it wasn't the norm. It wasn't what everybody else was playing. But we didn't care. But we had some of the weirdest songwriting structures you'll ever hear. And really, it's just me not really knowing how to put together a song, but having a lot of fun. So here's an example of that. This is a song from 1995 from Minor Earth called Hucklebuck.
was an abrupt ending.
Weird. Just weird.
Well, I was saying that the beginning was very Syd Barrett. So, yeah, the weirdness goes in perfectly with that.
And we were into all of that. And it almost sounds hippie to me. And the funny thing is we were the furthest thing from that whole hippie 90s culture, that Fish and Grateful Dead. We were so far removed from that. We were so much the outsiders with everything, all the groups they would put us with at these bars. And they would just look at us like, what are these guys playing? Because every song was different. The songwriting structure, as you just heard, was all over the board. I'm surprised we got gigs. And we were around for like 4 or 5 years, and I thought it was such a great thing. And obviously it was just weird.
But you know what? You got to grow and you got to go through that. And
it's still enjoyable to me to listen to.
It's still fun. I mean, like our early stuff, sometimes I cringe at some of the earlier stuff, but you got to sit back and go, you know what? It was part of the process. It was part of the journey, and it's fun. It was a good time, probably. I bet you had fun.
Yeah, and I remember we recorded that maybe like September timeframe in 1995. We went to Columbia, South Carolina, to a little recording studio called the Jam Room, which is pretty famous little room. And we did everything in one afternoon. We set up at like 11 o'clock in the morning. We drove there, we loaded in, set up at 11 o'clock in the morning, and got all the sounds right. And we had this one guy, he was engineering, he looked like death warmed over, really. And we set up and recorded, and then he mixed it, and then he gave us our final product
that afternoon.
Same day.
And go home.
It was like record it live and do it quick. And I remember at that time I had like an early guitar effects, like a processor that I would play out of, and I used to run that through. Basically just run it through a PA, and it's kind of like what guys are doing today, where they're just playing all these pods and all these different effects boards, basically. But it was a new thing then. I remember it was a Digitech RP1. It was the only affordable one that was around at that time, and I took that thing in there and I plugged it in. The guy's like, "What is that?" I said,
"Hey, man."
This had. I said,
"What the hell is that, man?"
These are all my effects, and I used to play a lot of effects on my guitar, so I had a lot of delays and all these things dialed
Flanger,
in. He's like,
phaser.
He's like, "I'm not recording that thing."
That ain't a Marshall.
I remember he had a Black Sabbath shirt on. I'm like,
"Oh God,
okay, dude, you're one of these guys."
Yeah.
And so he said, "There's a Marshall right there. Just plug into it and play." I'm like, "But what about my effects?" He's like, "Just play." And I listened to him.
Just play.
I was like, okay. So I didn't have any of my effects, so the songs are nothing like what they sounded when we played them live.
Okay, we need a T-shirt with that. I will buy that T-shirt that says, "Dude, just play.
Just play. Just plug in and play."
Just plug in and play.
And the funny thing is, that's been my ethos ever since that day. I threw that thing away. I think I sold it to Connor, actually.
Yeah.
He used it on his bass, which he made it sound cool, but I never played it again, and I just plugged it in and played. I went simple from there on out. Realized that's all I needed.
Good philosophy.
Yep. So I want to play something, another cut off the Big Jack, the original Big Jack, which was the trio. Because there's another song of yours that you wrote and that we played all throughout, both versions.
It made
of
the transition
Big Jack.
to the second version of Big Jack.
The second version of Big Jack was really, to me, more prolific and where we really came into our own. But this is one of those songs that you wrote that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I played bass on this one and Bill played drums, but I can't really remember. That must be the case because we played it in the next version of Big Jack where I was a bass player.
You were the bass player the full time in the second version.
Yeah, so I made the transition to bass and I stuck with it ever since. So this is a song we'll talk about when we get back, but this is called Half-Ass Cool.
I wish I looked this good in college. I wish I looked this good in high school. I wish I didn't have to think about the time I spent my life just looking half-ass cool. But standing here, you see, a perfect model of efficiency. I never had to curse the sky. I wonder why she loved me. 'Cause now I see the light. I wish I felt this good in college. I wish I felt this good in high school. I wish I didn't have to think about the time I spent my life just feeling half-ass cool. But now I'm turned around, learning about somewhere in the ground, growing ever closer to the grave I died before, but closer than before. And why was Larry so contrary? Larry Smoke and God and grow. Sometimes I get this feeling I'd be better off not knowing all the little things that harm me, surround me and compound the problems staring back at me. I guess this means I'm falling down, down. Sometimes I wish I had the knowledge. I should have studied more in high school. I wish I didn't have to think about my friends and how their lives don't seem so half as cool. But even with that money, the best things in my life are free. Still thinking myself my ass before I have a chance to say kiss this or drop my pants. And now I need to know, should I stay here? Or should I go? Here we go.
Thinking about how when we played that live, it was even faster than that because I would always start it off too fast.
Always.
And, then worry that I'm never going to be able to finish the song because it's so damn fast right now. I got to play the solo, I got to do everything. But I haven't heard that in years. That's really nice to hear.
The funny thing to me when I hear it is I still hear the version that we played with the 4-piece version of that band.
With the keyboard player.
With the keyboards. So
Yeah.
I'm in my head, I'm hearing Brandon's keys because that was one of our staples. We played that at every show.
That was fun.
And we even had choreography.
Kiss influence choreography.
Yeah.
That was playing live
We
was
had fun.
everything. We had a lot of fun on stage. That's the most amazing time of my life. That period playing on stage. I miss playing so much. I don't miss a lot of the other aspects of being in a band, but that time that we had on stage, if I could write a check and do all that over again, I would do it in a heartbeat. But you can't go back and recreate that. But at the same time, it will always be with me. I've got that. That song had at least 2 or 3 references to other friends of ours at the time. It was kind of a tribute to our circle of friends, from your old roommate to our friend Eric, who's no longer with us, tribute to him. And I think there's a couple other references in there, but that just kind of was a story of me and my life at the time. It was just very autobiographical.
And really the theme that I didn't mention in the last song, Hucklebuck, it's the same theme. It's that not quite fitting in, even with the misfits that we always had.
Yeah.
And that's what we were writing about. You were writing about being half-ass cool. In Hucklebuck, the previous song, those lyrics are about when I was in 7th grade, we went to junior high. We didn't have middle school. We went from elementary to junior high, and junior high started in 7th grade. And they called 7th graders Hucklebucks. And so you would get picked on basically your entire 7th grade year. It was a bad scene, It's not like that. It was
Hazing gone
hazing.
wild, yeah.
And I just remember feeling just so out of place, and I hated junior high, and everybody that was your friends in elementary school, all of a sudden they're not your friends anymore because everybody's changing and growing, and especially in the 80s, it was about being cool or trying to one up somebody and be something else, and that's what Hucklebuck was about. It's about me being a Hucklebuck and not
Getting spit on.
and not feeling like I fit in anywhere.
But we were our own version of misfits. I mean, we weren't misfits in the sense that we had tattoos and piercings and hung out in biker bars or that type of thing.
Not at that time.
Not at that time. But we didn't fit in with them. We didn't fit in with fancy people. We were just our own group. We fit in with each other and our own core friends.
Yeah, and even Minor Earth, the band that I played, or that was Hucklebuck, Minor Earth. But I remember we played one time at the college radio station. And if there's any place that a college band should fit in, it would be at the college radio station. That should be your people. And I just remember being in the room and setting up and playing, and all of at that time, the alternative people, they were just all looking at us like slack-jawed, like, who are you? I mean, it was, we didn't even fit in with the Misfits. Right. We were somewhere else. So it's been a common theme in all of our bands, but
in several of our songs as
kind of funny. So you mentioned Big Jack Pneumatic. So again, it was a trio for a couple of years, and then we had the 4-piece for a year or two, maybe 2 years. And in 2003, Kent said, "Hey guys, I've got another gig with this other band," and it was a band that we had played with called Alistair. And Alistair featured a singer named Elizabeth Elkins. And if anybody's listened to the Graveyard Brawl episode that we had back in December of last year, I had Kent Aberle and Elizabeth Elkins on that episode. And that band eventually became The Swear. And so once Kent left, we really could not find a drummer that fit in with what we were doing. And we just decided, well, that's probably just it for Big Jack. And so, and Brandon had already transitioned into doing all sorts of cover gigs and really making money. That was his way of making income at the time, and still is today. Mm-hmm. So he got his gig with Blackberry Smoke eventually. But anyway, Kent calls me up one day and says, "Hey, I know you guys aren't really playing anymore. The bass player just left The Swear. Do you want to come?" And or at the time, I don't even know if they were called The Swear. Maybe they were just thinking of that name. But he said, "The bass player left. Do you want to come try out?" And he said, "Now, one thing, when Elizabeth saw, when she played with us with Big Jack, she mentioned to me, I don't want any of that goofy stuff that they did on stage.
No fun.
That's not what we're looking for." Because Big Jack was we were goofy, but we were a power pop band. So we were playing it up. We were
very
hamming
energetic.
It up. Very energetic, overly doing everything. We took everything that Kiss and Cheap Trick taught us and blew it up and amplified it. And I remember Kent going, "Now, hey man, when you try out with Elizabeth, you got to be cool,
just
man.
Be cool, man.
Just lay back and do the bass player thing." And I'm like, okay. So this doesn't sound like any fun to me. But I listened to the songs, and Elizabeth can write a damn good song. So I thought, okay, I'll play some of these Alistair songs and see, how it goes. And I went into the audition, and it was pretty magical. It just felt good. And so I was in this band called The Swear from that point for about 12 years, 12 or 13 years. I was in that band a long time. We did some great recordings, and we actually recorded with Rusty Cobb, who it all comes back, right? We recorded later. Mercy Beat. So we actually went into Butch Walker's studio at that time. He was still in Atlanta, and Rusty was our producer engineer. He worked with Butch. And we didn't record with Butch. We were just in his studio. But we recorded an album called Every Trick's a Good One in 2005. And I want to play a song from that. This is Last Breath, The Swear.
Looks like you're home, but I have gone somewhere where there is no reason you should ever know that I make these things up. What I have done, there are some things you should never know. Still, you want to break this, and still you have to. Every trick's a good one. Every trick's a good one. Every trick's a good one.
I'm glad you chose that one because that was always my favorite song.
Really?
The whole time you were in the band, I love that. You used to end with that a lot of shows because it was good for her to kind of just let the guitar ring, she'd drop it or set it down, and it would just distort and kind of feedback, and she'd walk off the stage.
Yeah, we always were good at doing our noisy endings and trashing the stage, and which
is the way it should be.
Yeah, it was a true serious punk rock band. We had a lot of fun in that band, but it was definitely more serious than what we had done with the groups that we were in. And man, how good is that guitar? Jeremy Zamora was the guitarist on that, and he's a great friend of ours. And we actually, for the time, we thought we were going to have a band with Jeremy. We played for a little bit, but work stuff got in the way. But man, I believe he wrote that song. Elizabeth wrote the lyrics, but I think Jeremy wrote that one. I mean, the riffs that come out of that guy,
he is
amazing.
The riff master.
He is the riff master. We would just, when we would play with him, we would basically just cut on the recorder, whatever we had, our
just
phone or whatever, and because he just noodles, and it's just pure gold coming out of him, and you go, hey, play that thing.
What was that thing you just did?
That thing you did 5 minutes ago. What was that? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just messing around. And it was like, dude, you have riff after riff after riff. Anyway, great guitarist, great songwriter. We should have Jeremy on at some point if we can get him in here.
And he does have a depth of information that he'd be a good
Oh my God, that guy knows everything
commentator.
about music, especially punk rock. And he's in a great Foo Fighters cover band now. And, I don't know. I think he's trying to be a movie star right now.
Tribute. It's a tribute
I'm
band.
sorry, tribute band.
Yeah.
Whatever. I always get that stuff wrong. Anyway, but I want to go back to us. So the other person that was on that recording that I just played was Kent Aberle, like I mentioned. And Kent, again, when Kent came into Big Jack Pneumatic, he helped give power to what we were trying to do with the trio, and I think made it even bigger because the guy hits the drums so hard. I mean, he's just such a John Bonham type of drummer.
I have hearing loss because of him.
Such a good drummer and a great singer. I mean, the guy's he's all around
background
just
vocals,
a good musician.
Yeah. He can cover the hell out of some Twisted Sister too.
Yeah, he can get up there with his high register.
He's a good D. Schneider.
He is very good. But I want to play something from another song from the 4-piece version of Big Jack Pneumatic. And I was just thinking as I was looking at the album covers, I've got everything over here looking at them. We need to make this stuff available if people want to hear it. So maybe I'll set up a Bandcamp or something for Big Jack Pneumatic.
Yeah, what do they do these days? I'm so far removed from whatever.
I think
bands
probably
do.
Bandcamp's probably the best thing. So maybe I'll set one up for Mercy Beat. And I'll
SoundCloud? Oh, we're not DJs then.
No, I don't want to do SoundCloud. We'll do Bandcamp.
Okay.
When I get a chance, I'll set that up, and if you want to.
Because we lost our website years ago because I forgot to renew it, and we lost all the info. Well, most of it, not all of it.
Yeah, but anyway, I'll do that just in case anybody wants to hear this stuff and hear some other things that we did. Because while they're cheap recordings, they sound decent, and damn it, we're proud of them.
Hell yeah.
We had a lot of fun, and
I'd play that for anybody.
Yeah. So anyway, it's rock and roll, man. It's the way it should be. So here's another one of your songs that I always loved. I always loved hearing it live, and especially when we had the girls.
Oh, yeah.
This is Kerosene.
I've been thinking about how I've lived without feeling all the pain from the hearts I've drained. Now I finally see it's too late for me. Set my soul to die when I said goodbye. It's an eye for an eye. I'm gonna pay, she said. That's why they're saving a place in hell for me. I'll have a room with a view so I can see all the times that I left them crying. And I said it's not you, it's just me. I'm a cold-hearted son of a bitch, I won't lie. I'm gonna burn like them crying when I said it's not you, it's just me. I'm a cold-hearted son of a bitch. I won't lie, I'm gonna burn like kerosene. When I die, all my ex-girlfriends will be waiting in line to start the fire. All my ex-girlfriends will be waiting in line to start the fire. They're all standing there in front of me saying, they're all standing there in front of me saying, yeah, I'm gonna feel their pain, 'cause I'm going down in flames. Now I've thought about how I've lived without feeling all the pain from the hearts I've drained. Still, it's an eye for an eye. I'm gonna pay, she said. That's why they're saving a place in hell for me. I'll have a room with a view so I can see all the times that I let them cry. Yeah, when I said it's not you, it's just me. I'm a cold-hearted son of a bitch. I won't lie, I'm gonna burn like kerosene. When I die, all my ex-girlfriends will be waiting in line to start the fire. All my ex-girlfriends will be waiting in line. My ex-girlfriends will be waiting in line. Yeah, my ex-girlfriends are waiting in line to start the fire.
Did anybody bring a match?
Perfect. Cut. Print. Done.
Love that song, man. How good are your vocals in that song, man?
I cannot
so
hit
good.
some of those notes. I'd have to really practice to hit that these days.
Oh, that was gold to me. This is self-indulgent, but I'm loving it.
Yeah, fine. I don't care if anybody's listening, but that song right there was, to me, perfect. I listened to every other song we recorded, and I can find 2 or 3 things that I'm like, oh, you know what? If I recorded that again, I would shorten this, do this, change that, this sound. That is the song that captured it perfectly. The keyboards in that have the amazing tribute to Subdivision type sound. Of course, that's my favorite Rush song.
Yeah.
Drums are killing it.
And for those, any Blackberry Smoke listeners out there,
Yeah.
that's Brandon Still.
Not playing an organ.
Keyboards.
Playing real keyboards.
Playing Rush-style keyboards to power pop music.
And I think you started that song in the sense that your bass riff was first. And I think I wrote the song around your bass riff. So I think you were noodling on that, and that kind of started the verse. And I wrote the song about what was actually happening in my life, which was just a train wreck at the time when it comes to, my girlfriend's Marine boyfriend waiting out front of the bar to beat me up after the show because I wrote a song about a sister that was Eva, if you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
You remember Eva?
I do.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, I mean, it was just the train wreck that you couldn't stop watching was my personal life at the time. And that song came out of that because, yeah, I was just going through girlfriends, let's just say.
As most rock songs are about.
Yeah,
about
I mean,
girls,
I was
about
living
life.
the rock star life that you're supposed to live at that time. So no regrets, but yeah, that, like I said, back to the music, but the guitar, the sound of the guitar, the arrangement of the song, everything that I would play it for anybody.
I'd put that up against anything.
Yeah, I can hear
and
it on
even
the radio.
recording, man. I mean, we recorded in somebody's house, and it sounds pretty damn good.
Do you know where that house is now?
I don't.
Under the new runway of the Atlanta.
I'm assuming it's not there.
It's not there, but that house got bulldozed. So many places got bulldozed after. Let's see, our band house got bulldozed after we were there. Recording studios. I see a trend.
Level Heads isn't there anymore either.
No. Oh God. Yeah. So we have an effect on places, but yeah, that's my favorite song of all time when it comes to Big Jack. The favorite arrangement, the favorite lineup, 4-person lineup, all 4 of you guys. And, that's it right there. I'm happy to have that as part of my history.
And I mentioned the girls before the song came on. So we played a gig. We got put with a band we didn't know, but they were called Boss.
BOSS.
Boss. And it was a band featuring 2 guys and 2 girls. And they had a girl drummer and a girl bass player and singer. And we just thought they were awesome.
Loved them.
They were just punk rock and had fun, and they were kind of on the same level that we were, just, power pop punk, having fun. And so we invited them to the studio to do the Start the Fire part, and
they were good sports about it.
They pulled it off so well, and we played Star Bar with them, I think, after we recorded that, and they did it live on stage.
Yeah, they actually came out to the next show.
That was really cool.
Recreated it.
The other thing with that song is that was a song that caught the ears of some friends of ours that had a record company called Shut Eye Records, and they chose that song to put on a compilation, which is no big deal. I mean, that happened all the time back in the day because there was no Spotify. That was kind of how you got heard. You got on compilation CDs, and those would go to DJs and college radio stations and things like that in the hopes that they would listen to it and pick a song. But the cool thing about the compilation that we happened to be on is it also featured a little band from Australia called Midnight Oil. Mm-hmm. I still don't really understand how Midnight Oil ended up on that CD.
Not the same. We are not like Midnight Oil.
We were on a compilation CD with Midnight Oil. That's kind of cool.
It's their claim to fame.
So,
but this 2003.
2003.
The internet had come out, but it was nothing like it is now, and we didn't know.
There was no social.
There was not anything really useful for bands at the time, and once again, 2 or 3 years later, we might have, picked up some traction because of being able to get our music out, but it just was at the wrong time for that.
And Shut Eye, they did something. We worked with them a little bit, and they got us some gigs, and we worked with them until we were no longer around. The other thing I did is that song also caught the attention of
Warner Brothers,
Warner Music in Canada.
Oops.
And so we got this amazing letter back from Warner Music Canada from one of the high ups. And he writes us this great letter about how much they enjoyed the music and that song in particular.
Unique singer's voice.
Unique singer. And, we love this. The only problem is you're not Canadian, and we can only sign Canadian artists. I'll send you to the A&R people in New York. Of course, we never heard from them.
But that's still pretty exciting to get a letter like that. Any band out there would be happy to get letters like that.
So it was one of those things where it's like, wow, this is so cool. Oh.
What? Oh, damn.
So I want to end kind of going all the way back to where we started, which was Mercy Beat, which is the first band that we were in. And I want to focus on one of the songs that was a transition song for us. When Robert said, hey, we were doing this acoustic stuff, we were playing bars, we were playing covers, and we were writing our own material. And then you went, hey, I want to do more electric. I want to make this more of a band. Can we do more with this? And we actually went into the studio. This is when we first met Dan Marshall, before we did the Big Jack Pneumatic recordings. But we recorded as Mercy Beat with Paul. But this material never really went anywhere. We just sort of had it. I think we distributed it to the local radio station at the time, and they told us, oh, that's not really what we're playing right now. But we had several songs that we recorded, and I think this is when we, if I'm not mistaken, correct me here, but was this when we paid for our recordings by
my
doing
God,
all the work in the studio?
I had completely forgotten about that. We painted.
We did like
and
stucco,
I did some carpentry.
We took down drywall and did stucco and did the brick and all that.
Oh, God, I forgot all about that.
And that's how we paid for the recording.
That's classic.
And we never really did anything with this recording.
No, all that work. And
it actually came out pretty well. This was the trio of you, me on drums, and Paul on bass.
I'm not able to picture, or I can't hear the music that you're talking about. This is going to be a surprise to me because I haven't heard it in so long.
Well, we never did anything with it, so I don't think you may not even have a copy.
I don't think I've got a copy of this.
So this was one of the songs that I really liked that, again, we just never did anything with. But I wanted to end with, something that takes us all the way back to where we really found our groove with what we were going to do. So this is a song called 4 p.m.
So long ago, shedding on deep stare, a window to the soul. And we were there, we were eye to eye, 1-to-1 and whole. Was that you said? take it slowly now. Been burned before. We took a walk. 7 paths we led. Somehow they crossed. How I miss the rainy Sunday. Downtown in our favorite room we lie. Staring at the ceiling. Pretend we were staring at the moon. And you gotta believe in something. But I still believe in you. The rainy Sundays, downtown in my favorite room we lie. Staring at the ceiling, pretend we were staring at the moon.
Do you remember that at all?
Yeah, oh yeah. Now, once I heard the song, it started coming back. The big, huge Guild guitar I was playing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
God, yeah, wow. It's been a long time. That you were nailing the background vocals on that.
That one worked. So 1999 is when we recorded that.
God.
Crazy, man.
21 years
All the way back to the 90s for that one. And it, as you listen to it now, I remember during that recording, I believe that's the one. Maybe it was another one, but I think that's the one where I broke the snare drum because at that point in time I was using like a little piccolo snare. You can hear how high that snare drum is, and I think I ended up breaking that snare during the recording, and I remember I had to run out, and I had no money, and to run out and buy a new snare drum. It was like $350, and for me I was like, oh God, I got to spend that kind of money just to get a new snare drum.
Do you remember what else broke?
No.
My tooth. We got a sandwich from the place around the corner, and I freaking broke my tooth on a sandwich, and that thing cut loose. And your lovely now wife at the time, girlfriend, was awesome enough to show up with a handful of painkillers so that we could keep going.
No, I think your timing's off because I didn't meet Grace until 2000.
Was that the second time we were? Okay, so the same studio.
Same studio.
Second time we were there. Okay, but still, freaking, it was always something. So yeah, he broke a snare. The next time I broke a tooth.
So this is the recording where I don't remember what his name was. We had some kid who was younger than us that wanted to help us out, and he was like a apprentice to Dan, and he was going to help us, and he was going to be like our producer and help us get shows.
Sasha?
I don't remember his name, but I remember he brought us a mix of this stuff, and again, we never released this, but he brought us this mix, and we're like, he plays it for us in the car, and it sounded like crap.
It was
just
horrible mix.
Like total ass. And he goes, "Hey, it sounds good, right?"
The guy that went to Full Sail?
Yeah.
That guy. I know him.
He goes, "It sounds good, right?" And you and I looked at this, and I'm like, "No, this sounds horrible." No, mix it so we can actually hear the different instruments. It was like all
straight out of
vocal,
recording
it was
school somewhere.
horrible.
Yeah.
And so we ended up with the mix that you just heard. But again, no budget. We were repairing the studio to pay for it.
Literally doing construction
we literally
work
bartered
in the
and that's how
studio
we
for
did
that
it.
recording.
And we would spend hours. We did some pretty amazing art in the studio because we were doing like stucco, kind of art stucco. What do you call that?
It was a faux finish.
Faux finish.
Yes, we were way ahead of our times.
And we were leaving like certain bricks exposed. It looked really cool in the end, but man, it was a lot of work. And it was high.
He got a better end of that bargain than we did.
Oh yeah, and we painted. I think we even paid for the materials, if I remember. I can't remember.
I can't remember.
I mean, we even painted the ceiling blue or black. I can't remember. It took a long time.
Pain in the ass that was.
But it paid for the recording.
You do what you got to do for what you love.
So that's us, a self-indulgent episode that I just wanted to do, especially as everybody's, mass hysteria, thinking that they're going to die tomorrow.
End of the world as
if we die tomorrow, at least we have it out here on a podcast of,
Here's
some of the
life's
things,
work.
some of the things we accomplished in our youth and beyond. Oh wait, what's this? Oh, I got one more here. Oh, look at this. This is a live recording. Let's see what this sounds like.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Big Jack. This says Big Jack Pneumatic live at the Star Bar, 2003. It's hard to pronounce the name of this song, though. How do you pronounce this? Oh, it's pronounced
Janae.
Janae,
not Johnny.
What's up, y'all?
Cause it's pronounced Janae, not Johnny. Know what you said were funny. And I'm living on the reputation that I just can't win. There was a time in life when I was alone, with a feeling of outgrown. She's taking me back along the way. As I gathered up the shattered remains of my self-respect that was shut down in flames, she looked at me and said, my name is pronounced Janae, not Johnny. The words you said weren't funny, and I'm living on the reputation that I just can't win. It was a whole amount of fences that led me to her circumstances. Cause I was thinking with the brain inside my pants again. I was thinking with the brain inside my pants again. Can't hide the truth cause she knew it. And there's no escape when I blew it, cause I tried to tell her I knew what she wanted. That I could be just like everybody else, that I could hide aside for a while. Well, I'll do my time, but not today, cause it's pronounced Janae, not Johnny. The words you said weren't funny, and I'm living on my reputation that I just can't win. It was the whole amount of fences that led me to her circumstances. Cause I was thinking with the brain inside my pants again. I was thinking with the brain inside my pants again. Again. Vince Neil on the bass. Misunderstanding led me to mistake her, then she bled me. She never knew what look was all it takes. Cause it's pronounced Janae, not Johnny. The words you said weren't funny, and I'm living on the reputation and I just can't win. It was the whole amount of fences that led me to her circumstances. Cause I was thinking with the brain inside inside my pants again. I was thinking with the brain inside my pants again. I was thinking with the brain inside my pants again. Again. Again.
Are there any even words to say
No,
here?
there's just I did a lot of thinking with the brain inside my pants back then.
Oh man,
God, that was so much fun. And that sounds so much more punk rock than the recorded version.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the recorded version is great, but that's just I forgot how much more punk rock it sounded live.
well, we never recorded that with the 4-piece. We recorded
No, it
that
was only
as the trio.
3-piece. We had sound effects. We
very
had
different.
actual voicemails that I recorded from Janae herself. And that's a true story. Met this girl at a party, and she wrote her name and phone number on a piece of paper. And I called her up, and it's spelled Jahnee, and phonetically it looks like Johnny. And I called her up and embarrassed myself. And she was like, "It's Janae, not Johnny." Oh, God. And we ended up dating twice.
Yeah, you did. And it made a damn good song.
I think she got 3 songs. Yeah, because we
She got
dated
3
twice.
songs.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's it for this week. I think we've been self-indulgent enough, and hopefully, the 3 people other than us that might listen to this are also probably featured as
Yeah,
musicians.
probably so. Yeah, we might do shout outs just so they listen to it.
So shout out to Kent, who might listen to it. Shout out to Elizabeth, who probably won't listen to it. Let's see who else. Brandon, maybe.
Thunder Dan Marshall, if he's still around, we'll track him down.
Don't know. Jeremy Zamora. Hopefully,
Jeremy, yeah, he'll listen to it.
Jeremy will
Yeah,
listen
yeah,
to
yeah.
it, and he'll go, "God, your other recordings are horrible," because he's a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Who else might take a listen to this? I don't know. Maybe Brandon's brother Trevor. I don't know. Maybe Connor. Maybe Connor might listen to this.
Butch Walker's not doing a lot these days. He's only producing for like 20 people, so he's slowed down a little bit.
But anyway, I think we've proven that we have a very twisted family tree. It just keeps snaking back in, so it's more like a vine.
It's
tree, I would
kudzu.
say.
Kudzu.
Yeah, it's kinda
Family kudzu.
That sounds right. So with that said, I think we're out this week. We'll see you next time, where we'll actually play some bands that,
You might want to listen to.
yeah, who knows.